Welcome to the main event Fightcast. I'm your host Vega, alongside my co-host Mike, and this is the show where I have some things that people might not agree with to say. Like first, I feel you, bro. That Carlos Steele fight was quite the robbery, only because of the judges' score.
When you just say he won, it's not a robbery. When you say that the judge
30-27?
30-27 is just crazy.
That was nasty work.
You could convince me he won the first round. You can't convince me he won every round. That's nuts.
Right. That was nasty work.
He didn't win any other round after that, in my opinion.
Even if you wanted to convince me he won the first and second round, like, okay, cool. He won the fight. I will give you that. But to say 30-27 on any round, neither fighter was that close to a 30-27. And if there was one that was going to be that close, it would have been Carlos. Right? Like, he had the more effective strikes. He had the more effective grappling control. He was just all around the better fighter in the moment. And that was hard. So the interesting thing is that I had to rewatch it afterwards because I wasn't able to watch it live. And so I guess what was that like going into that being the first fight of the card and knowing this is in Abu Dhabi, you're just like, oh man.
I mean, the Muslim fighter wins in Abu Dhabi. The Russian Muslim fighter, like you just think like,
it's gonna be a long night. There better not be no decisions. Like as a fighter, you got to be sitting in the back.
Yeah, as a fighter, I could imagine. Imagine you
got to be sitting back there going, got to go for the finish. Finish only.
Islam that day, you're done.
Finish only. Finish only. Finish only. That's the only way to get it done. Because otherwise, like, that was 30-27 to start the night was outrageous.
Hey, I had what's his name? Renat.
Renat.
I had Renat on my DraftKings, so I was like, whew, I'll take it. But it was wrong. It was a wrong decision.
That was an outrageous.
Weird way to start the card.
And then the next fight, for me personally, I feel like there are different opinions out there online, but like for me personally, the next fight wasn't really a good follow-up fight.
Oh, I thought you was going to say it wasn't boring. I was going to say it was pretty boring.
No, I was going to say it wasn't a good follow-up fight. It was boring. I wouldn't go as far as saying it was boring, but it wasn't great to watch, right? Like it was just, especially with Bruno Silva. Like maybe it was because my expectations of Bruno Silva were too high.
Well, at least they made it easy for the judges. Because my God, imagine they scored that for Bruno Silva.
That would have been insanity, bro.
I text you, your boy hasn't even woken up.
And honestly, I feel like maybe this is a wild statement to make because I'm not the fighter, so I can't say for sure. But I would bet a lot on the idea that the first calf kick that he took that moved his leg really changed the dynamic of the fight. Mm-hmm. It must have impacted him way more than we realized.
He was definitely trigger shy, 100%.
Yeah, because he was flat from that point forward. But then outside of that, like there weren't a lot of big moments that Ismail had where I was just like, yeah, he's really crushing. It's like there was a lot of moments where
early in the first
you're
round,
winning
when he had him down and he started hitting him with some shots. I thought there was a chance for a finish.
Right.
But after that, it was just a domination, but you never really think he's going to finish.
And those are my least favorite fights. Mm-hmm. The fights that look like they're going to finish in the first round.
At middleweight, you should be able to finish a wounded animal. It is an animal. I get it. Bruno Silva is not an easy guy to take out, considering Alex Pereira couldn't take him out.
But then it feels like when you take then you take that wrestling approach, that wrestling heavy approach like Ismail took, it then slows down the pace of the fight in a way that it's hard to recover from. Mm-hmm. And I get it because in that first round you realize I can't put him out.
That's why he might have been taking a shot. And Ismail might have been reserving energy after a while, thinking, you know what? I'll finish this probably not in the books today.
Right.
And he's not going to put himself in a position where he runs out of gas and gets caught with something.
Especially because I believe this was his debut.
I'm not sure. It was definitely my first time seeing him.
I want to say
he looked impressive early.
He came off of Contender Series.
Later on, I could judge him and say why he finished.
Yeah, yep. Came off Contender Series as his debut.
Okay.
So
he should have made a better.
Yeah, maybe he should have went for a bigger win for his debut, but I understand the idea of just making sure you get the win for your debut. That's also makes sense. Now this fight started bringing the excitement and turning the heat up a little bit with Victor Hugo versus Farid Basharat. And it went very different than what I had imagined it was going to go. I thought there was going to be a lot more striking involved.
I thought Hugo was going to get that leg lock for a second. It's like, whoa.
It's so crazy, yo, because every time a leg lock gets put in place, it feels like it's super close, it's super tight, but we rarely ever see them get finished.
Well, not always. It doesn't always. Sometimes you see, he's defending it correctly.
Yeah.
Because once you defend it, you're able to get to like close into the fighter instead of going out like BJ Penn famously did against Ryan Hall. I couldn't believe it. A former double champion didn't know how to defend a leg lock. Yeah. One of the hardest submissions to put in.
Secure.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say I can go in there and defend Ryan Hall's leg lock. I'm just saying that wasn't the technique.
That wasn't the way to try at all.
Yeah. That wouldn't have been my way of doing it at all.
So I feel like we have one controversial fight of the night. And the controversy had very little to do with the fight itself and more so the antics of the fighter. And that's with Beast Boy doing a little jump that he shouldn't have jumped.
I definitely challenge his narrative that he did not injure the leg getting himself hyped and doing that jump. But I saw it in real time and I believe he buckled it.
I saw the buckle for sure. He definitely buckled.
How much it hurt doesn't matter. It later on became a factor.
Yeah, it had an impact later. And like I was saying to you
if he
earlier,
goes on to injure the other leg,
that's different.
Then
that's a different conversation. But the leg that buckled is also the same leg that he had the Achilles rupture on and had to go and get surgery for that. And I felt like he recovered from the surgery too fast. And I forgot to mention it last episode because it was only like 3 or so months. But I was so distracted by that massive seizure-looking moment he had in his last fight.
Yeah, I don't know how much you caught of the announcers, but they were questioning it.
For some reason, his doctor wasn't.
Paul Felder and DC absolutely questioned, did he come back early? I don't believe they pointed out the buckle, though.
No, I don't think anybody really pointed that out. And I think they didn't point it out because it was quick, so it looked like a little slip. He threw himself back to the cage to hide it quickly.
I saw it alone. It wasn't like I had anybody did you see that or whatever? But when I went back and seen the video online more, I was like, yeah, that buckle might have been a lot worse than I even thought live. But he definitely live, I definitely thought like.
Yeah. And it definitely had an impact because, like I said, when he threw that first kick. Now, again, he already had his Achilles compromised, so there is an argument to be made that it would have happened regardless with the kick, but that jump didn't help the situation.
I would argue that he was probably even hesitant in doing it, and when he did do it, might have just had bad footwork that led to it. Because just second guessing your body in a way can be the
it could be enough of a distraction to really cause yourself some damage. But overall, it's crazy because even though it only lasted like 4 or so minutes, it was still fun to see Beast Boy back in the cage.
Well, he's a fun fighter. Terrible matchup they set him up with. I'm sorry. Kennedy was going to destroy him regardless, I think.
It was a crazy height difference.
He was able to keep the distance correctly. He was not trying to do too much. It was a terrible matchup for Beast Boy.
It was. And when Beast Boy was throwing, he was really kind of winging them. Like they were really soaring into the air to try to get it. I think the stats said that Kennedy was the tallest fighter in the heavyweight division right now. Going against the shortest fighter, or he was like the second tallest fighter or something like that, going against the actual shortest fighter in the division at 5'9", fighting in heavyweight. Comparing that to like John Jones standing at 6'3", 6'4", sorry. Gustafsson starting at 6'5", I believe, and Chuku standing at 6'5", Pereira standing at 6'4". Like these are some Pereira's light heavyweight, but he's going to heavyweight. He's going to heavyweight. Tom Aspinall standing at 6'3". Yeah, man, there's a lot of big dudes in that division.
Yeah.
So Chris Barnett.
UFC is in a real tough spot with Chris Barnett because I believe he has the fans behind him enough that they would like to keep him around
Mm-hmm.
because any little run would be amazing for him and all that. But it's gonna be hard finding matchups for him. That's just the truth.
Do you think there's any value in him going down to light heavyweight?
Do you think there's any possibility he can?
Yes. Most of the weight that he carries is in the belly. Like he got 20 to 30 he could lose just there. You know what I'm saying? And that's a choice because the way you condition as a fighter is a little bit different than with a lot of other sports where you're making active choices on what you want to work on as opposed to just general all around workouts.
See,
right?
I want to give you that nod, but you also think that I can make 185.
Yeah, because you also have like 10 to 15 in the belly, bro. Like honestly, if you look at yourself and say, if I had a 6-pack, do I still carry the extra 20 pounds that I like? What is it? What is it? How many pounds do I have to lose to get to a 6-pack? Because that's your real fighting weight.
Real story.
You know what I mean?
I was the lowest I got recently. I got to like 2009. Went to Jay's baby shower, and I was wearing a shirt that probably didn't fit me anymore. It was a little big, not too crazy big, but I thought it went well. But Booby Justin, he literally pulled me to the side. I was like, "Are you okay?"
He cooked you.
Man, thought I was on crack or something. But bro, there's no chance I can make 185.
You definitely can.
Never.
But
there's no chance. There's no chance.
You definitely can.
Zero chance.
But anyhow,
at 209, they thought I was on crack.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of how you build your frame, right?
Listen, I don't think it's possible. I mean, I still had some belly fat at that moment, but like
that's what I'm saying because there are people who like Chris Barnett is a perfect example, right? When you look at Chris Barnett, if you look at him straightforward, right, from behind, he doesn't look like a heavyweight at all, right? Because most of his weight is front load. He's carrying all of his weight in his chest and his stomach. You reduce a lot of that, like even to the point of when you're watching the fight, Kennedy's throwing stump body kicks and they're not doing anything. They're just landing against skin.
What doesn't help him to make the weight and all of that is he's dealing with leg injuries. He has to heal up there
before he can eliminate that belly fat.
Then be able to work out in a way where he can actually get down. But 205 seems like a stretch for him. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
It just won't be a thing that'll happen in a year.
No, absolutely not. It'll take a while. It's like he would have the same way I was saying about Kenny Nchukwu, right? Like his best bet is to go the John Jones route, right? Take the year and a half to build the weight naturally. Like it's with
his move up to the heavyweight.
Yeah,
right?
for people familiar with bodybuilding, right? Like the people who are heavy in bodybuilding, they talk about dirty bulking versus clean bulking, right? Dirty bulking is the idea of just gain the weight, right? Fats, cheeses, grease, whatever, gain all of it, right? And then clean bulking is just do protein gains, right? So you're doing salads, you're just really consuming.
Only way to make it work is to do a dirty bulk.
That's what you need to do for somebody like Kennedy. Kennedy needs to dirty bulk first, like John Jones did. Dirty bulk, you get to that space where look at him, he's so fat, right? And then you clean down. And then you clean down, you retain all of that excess mass that you gave yourself with the dirty bulk. So that's what Kennedy needs to do right now.
Way easier for somebody that sticks and stones to get himself big enough to do that in a year and change.
I think a good dirty bulk
for somebody that's on the bigger side who's dealing with leg injuries to cut himself down to that.
Yeah, the leg injuries are the bigger issue, but that's also a more recent thing because I've always felt that way about Chris Barnett. I always wondered why he was fighting at heavyweight. He's just too short.
He's
too short.
He's too short for
and it's unfortunate because it's one of those situations where like he might even be too short for light heavyweight, and he's damn sure not getting to 185. That's crazy.
What's up with this kid that was in the contender series for like 3 weeks? It was 5'8" for middleweight.
I don't remember. I didn't really watch a lot of season 8.
Can't remember his name, but he's a really stocky dude. Was winning his fights. Some less impressive than others, but everybody believes he can compete. Other than this, the fact that
he's not tall enough.
He's 5'8".
It's a disadvantage.
5'8" as a middleweight, I believe. Barnett is about 5'8".
He's 5'9".
5'9".
Right.
he'd be the shortest light heavyweight.
But even then, like again, it's a matter of what is the effort and time he wants to put into the weight loss, right? Because the possibilities are there. Remember, there are people who weigh 500 pounds that get down to normal 200s. That's 300-pound weight loss.
Right now, he's gonna be in a shelf for a leg injury. The best thing he could do
is
try to
cut
clean.
that weight, bro. Eat clean,
as clean as possible.
Eat clean and minimize calorie intake. Right, you're not doing the same amount of activity that you're taking.
All of that is gonna help with his legs too. That's
right, because another example of framework, right? When you look at Chris Barnett, if you look at his top, he's top heavy. He's not bottom heavy. His legs are not as thick as his upper body. So that weight is putting a strain on his lower body. I mean, it's those different dynamics of why you just can't look at someone and be like, oh, they're fat or they're skinny. Like there's layers to all of it in between.
It'll be interesting if he could ever make light heavyweight. It'd be very interesting.
If I genuinely believe if Chris Barnett wants to continue a realistic career in combat sports as a fighter, he needs to genuinely consider going to light heavyweight and imaginatively consider going to 185. Like just try to put it on the wall and be like, would it ever be possible? Because his height says yes.
It'd be like reaching for the gold. Same
right.
way. Like,
but
look at it there.
Right. But his height says yes.
I might never get there.
But there's a pathway that I could.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
If I do that, that's
because that would give him so much longevity in his career. Like look at the acrobatics of this dude, bro. Yeah. Imagine him at 185. We're talking about a short Michel Pereira.
Not a good time to bring up Michel.
I think it was a good one because they both just lost, you know.
Yeah,
so
but it's still too new.
But there's nobody else. There's no one else that's as acrobatic as these two guys, bro. Like Izzy looks like he should be as acrobatic as Chris Barnett, and he's not.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't do that.
Like if I showed you a picture if I put a picture of Izzy and Chris next to each other and was like, which one of these guys can backflip? Everybody's picking Izzy.
But he can.
I haven't seen him do too many of them, so I wouldn't know. What's one of the weird ones that Chris Barnett has done? The front flip onto his ass. That was crazy. Didn't he do a cartwheel into a split?
Was him just not landing it like he wanted it to, but he's crazy. The thing about him is he has to do that to make up for that height difference. I don't know if that'd be his game if he actually made the weight, and I don't know.
He won't need it as much, so it'll be a nice pocketed part of his game. As opposed to in heavyweight, it is his whole game. His whole game is be fast and flashy in a way that the heavyweight person can't keep up with. Because for a big guy, he's one of these people that you look at in the street and you're probably like, yo, that guy will probably beat most people in a foot race. Like, he's probably faster than a lot of people just based on his size. It's crazy to think, right?
Like, it's that football player thing. A lot of these linemen will beat me in a race.
Just super fast. So I think that those are some of the better options for Chris Barnett, in my opinion. Abu Smagomedov versus Bruno Ferreira was way more one-sided than I expected it to be. Like, Bruno really managed to deliver until he didn't. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel pretty good saying Abus was losing that fight until he got the choke.
Because you're not wrong. He was losing that fight. But it's definitely a breath of fresh air for Abus.
Yes.
Knowing that he can do the complete opposite of what happened to him with Sean Strickland.
He was able to survive.
To weather that storm and find a way.
Mm-hmm. Find a way when he needed a way, too. Needed a way. You saw him, you could see him look up at the clock and measure the time and try to quickly calculate, can I get a sub?
Mm-hmm. As good as that performance was, it had the negative part of Bruno was kicking your ass, bro.
Yeah.
But no shame in knowing that you found a way.
Right. And it also, at least in my opinion, as one of the people who were not a hater, but a very, very consistent pointer outer of the fact that Abus has terrible cardio for a middleweight. I think this fight, he showed that he had made some improvements. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's by far where he needs to be.
Or was he less aggressive and put him in that position?
Even being less aggressive, getting your ass kicked like that takes cardio too, bro.
Yeah. We're all in shape till you get punched in the
You
mouth.
know, right? So it definitely has an impact. But I will say, I feel like the the physicality of Abus was more of a benefit to his cardio than the physicality of Bruno, right? Like Bruno, even with the nickname the Hulk, right? He's very muscle heavy, and muscles just take more oxygen. This became a very scientific episode.
You know, like
Yeah,
science.
let's get out of science real quick and get down to the nitty gritty of a
Fight
goddamn
night.
fight. Mateus Rebecki and Mike Tech Autobuy.
You
Bro.
said you wasn't gonna say their name again in this show.
No, I meant in the last episode.
Oh, okay.
The last episode.
Okay.
After that fight, they deserved for everybody to get their name fucking right, bro. You get this. These two men, you get their name right.
I will disrespect
okay?
and try.
Because listen, they put on a fight like it was really like a life or death war for them. They were really in there fighting for something bigger than the fight itself.
50 grand wasn't enough.
It was craziness. Yo, the
100 grand each, man.
That third round was insanity. Seeing Orobai get knocked down, get pummeled and beaten on, fight to recover, flip the roles, do it to Rebecki, right? The only downside is the blood from Rebecki came from a head like clash. It didn't actually come from a strike. But outside of that, like the whole fight back and forth was just
it was a good fight. It was a good fight.
No one can contest that this was fighting the night.
I don't even understand how they make 160. They're big dudes.
Big dudes.
Like
big dudes.
Their heads are big. They're
big heavy dudes is what it is.
Like, they have middleweight heads.
Yeah. Yeah, they fight at 155, bro. I was just confirming because I knew it was right.
It could have been just their levels are so similar.
That's what I was gonna say. It's that I feel like it was more of a camera illusion because they are so similarly shaped and sized.
I didn't watch it and think like, oh, great technique or whatever. I just saw two dogs.
No, I mean as far as their size. Yeah. Like size wise, I feel like because they're both so close to the same size, the camera can tighten up a little bit, so it makes them look a little bigger in the cage than what they might actually be. Like they do with a lot of the bantamweights, like the camera kind of squeezes a bit. So when you see a bantamweight's head over the cage, right? Or yeah, exactly, those type of optics. But either way, like this was a dog fight and a half. The only part of it that was a little disappointing to see in this fight was the lack of takedown attempts from Otobai, because that's just more of his effective game. So it was interesting to see him kind of stand and strike for a while.
I guess because he lost.
Right, because he lost. That's what I'm saying. Because he lost. Yeah. If he wanted to win, like the clearer path to victory was just stick to your wrestling game. It's incredible. But you put on a crazy. Even when they engaged in the wrestling game, like it wasn't boring wrestling at all. They were going for it. And honestly, I don't know how Orobai survived that.
Two dogs, man.
Like, how does Orobai survive that? But when the doctor came in and said, "Can you see?" and he said, "Nah." My favorite part that I don't think anybody really caught. There was a point where in the third round when Rebecki's on top and pounding into Mike Tech, right? They are in by the octagon cage side, and they're two panels away from the commentators, right? And at this moment, DC and Anik are like, "Yo, I don't even think this guy can see anymore. I don't even think he can see anymore." And Otobai literally says, "I can see." Like mid getting beat on, bro. I gotta run it back for you so you can see when we finish, bro. Because when I heard him scream, "I can see," I was like, "There's no way. What is this man made of, bro?" Like your eye is swollen to that point. You're getting punched in on the same eye where the damage is already done, and you're still coherent enough to hear the commentators talking about you and address them, even if they didn't hear you. Because nobody responded to him, so I don't think they heard him.
The crowd wasn't loud enough if he was able to do that. That's crazy.
Nah, it was an early fight still. There wasn't a lot of people in the arena.
I know.
Yeah, but still, it was like...
That was a wild fight.
Yo.
Like, come on.
That fight, like, there's no contesting that was fight of the night at all. The next fight was very disappointing, especially if you're a Dos Anjos fan, because it happened so fast. Old age just kicked in my opinion. He's celebrating his 40th birthday on the night of the fight. Like old age just kicked in, and you kicked him in the knee that didn't fully power on this morning. We all been there. So big win to Jeff Neal. That doesn't take away anything from the technique, ability, skill set. He was dominating that fight the whole way through that beginning.
He got it done.
But
he did his job.
Did Dos Anjos retire? I didn't notice. I don't think he did. No, I think he like I said, I think he needs to. And not because of CT, just I think he's given a lot to the sport, and we've gotten all we can get out of him. Bro, you're 40. It's time to chill. Go coach him.
Yeah, I just don't see where you're getting placed in this division. Tough division, bro.
It's a tough division, and you're not going up or down a division. So here we are. Now, here is the interesting conversation piece of the evening, right? Because I think it was you that asked me about it. Ebo versus Alex, or did I see that online? I think I might have saw it online. So people are already having conversations around the possibility of Ebo Aslan being the biggest threat to Alex Pereira.
Oh, yeah, I definitely saw that.
And I'm starting to get concerned about the MMA community. We're reaching the point of fandom that I think all sports go through where everybody who wins is now the best. And I don't think that's healthy, guys. Like, everybody who wins is doing their job. It takes a while to become the best. And when you become the best, it's not necessarily a temporary conversation. Right? Like, we're talking about...
I just don't know where your mind wanders off when you see two unranked fighters fighting.
And immediately think this guy beats the champion. Like, how do we get there so fast?
I do see how you're like, oh, I like to see them strike. Doesn't mean you want to see that fight yet. Like, come on.
Now, what he did to Sakaria was pretty impressive because Sakaria did come into this with a valid undefeated record, right? When I say valid, I'm talking directly to the people with padded records or canned records where you might be undefeated, but when we look at who these people fought, they are winless. So it doesn't matter if you're undefeated. But Sakaria had some pretty good wins in his regional circuit. But Ebo just kind of picked them apart and got through them quick. Wait, I think it was like under a minute, right? Maybe longer? Yeah, under a minute. 51 seconds.
51 seconds.
Yep. Picked him apart quick. And the crazy thing is, so I didn't bet on this fight at all. I didn't pick on it at all. I wasn't really that excited for it because I didn't know these guys that well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I got really excited for this fight during the ceremonial weigh-ins because, and I got to be honest, I got excited thinking Rafael was going to win because Ebo came out with all this energy, bro, like just shouting and wilding out. And Rafael chilled, bro. He was just like nothing affected him. But now I realized that was a bad thing for this card because the other guy who was chill didn't go well for him either. We'll get to that in a bit.
I didn't like that.
I don't like that they gave Sharo Magomedov performance of the night. That's what I don't like. Because again, there are very few times in MMA or any combat sport really where I feel comfortable using the word lucky because I don't feel like I'm throwing an insult, right? Whenever I hear the term lucky, I feel like that's insulting to the fighter because they put in so much work, so much training. Like there's just so many elements that go into it. It's just disrespectful to say lucky, right? Like Leon Edwards' head kick versus Usman. Like you can't call that lucky. He was setting it up for a while. And in that moment, he set it up perfectly because Usman was overconfident, already feeling like he was winning, and it landed, right? That's not a lucky strike. That's a calculated moment, technique, all of this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. What Sharo Magomedov did was from a video game. Video game attacks are not real, right? Like, as much as we love video games.
He made it real.
They're just...
He made it quite real.
They're supposed to be real.
That looked real to me. He wasn't pretending.
You're not supposed to be real. Okay, because there's physics involved that break the rules of life.
No. There was no acting.
It was a phenomenal knockout. And that's why I say it's lucky in the most beautiful way because there's a ton of technique that goes into it. His ability to do back fists and all that, right? But the issue is people are not elastic, right? So once you torque in one direction, you don't just automatically spring the other way. You re-engage your muscles and tell them to go back, right? So his ability, like your ability to do that fast, there's a lot of other elements that come into play, one of which being an important factor, your opponent. What is your opponent doing in this moment, right? Because if your opponent steps back, now you just missed two back fists and you're in a really vulnerable position. That's all that happened, right? But Armin went for a right hook assuming that he was going to finish the backspin after he missed. And then he went the other way, and it worked. Just the placement, the armor was everything. Like everything about it was lucky in the most beautiful way that you can't take away from the fighter. It's not an insult or comment on the fighter because it takes a tremendous amount of effort and skill to even think about attempting that shit.
All he needs in that with that technique that he was practicing already was timing and a little bit of luck.
And that's it. And that's what I'm saying. That little bit of luck. A little bit of luck.
But the reason I'm going to get you to walk back is, how can it not be performance of the night when you were in agreement with me that it is a candidate for knockout of the year? How can you be that and not?
That's a fair question. That's a fair question. So
it was 100% a performance of the night, knockout of the night because of the difficulty.
The abstractness in what he did was so crazy.
I will not argue with you and not say
that you're right. The rest of the fight
playing in the part.
Nah, the rest of the fight is not performance of the night worthy. So that's where my mind went initially.
No, because
that's where my mind went. But you're right.
Knockout of the night.
This wasn't
fight of the night.
Yeah,
fight of the night was the two names that I would not try.
Orobai and Rebecki.
Yes, that was fight of the night. The catch weight at 160.
Yeah,
but this was knockout of the night. On another night, maybe Ilya gets that, but on this night,
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. From when you reframe it, you're absolutely right. Because initially, I'm like, performance of the night. Everything about this fight was kind of mid up until this crazy moment, right? Like the other example I gave you earlier was Joaquin Buckley versus Uriah Hall?
Yes.
That's what it was.
No,
right?
It was not Uriah Hall. It was the kid from PFL that I do not know his name either. Hasn't made himself a big enough star. He made $1 million over there, won the championship. He almost beat Johnny Eblen. His latest fight.
I don't remember the guy's name, but Uriah Hall also had a crazy video game style knockout.
Yeah. But that, he did it multiple times.
But
that's the difference.
That's a real technique. That's a real thing you're normally supposed to be able to do. The Joaquin Buckley moment I'm talking about, the Buckley moment I'm talking about is when he threw the front kick and it got caught, and then he jumped off of the man's chest, spun and landed a spinning heel kick to the face. Right, like the reason that
guy was cut and put in memes everywhere
for life,
only to go to a better situation where it was undefeated over there, and
it worked out great for him. It really did.
Made more money.
Way more money. Probably he's made more money than Buckley. Low key. It's
low key.
Probably.
What's low key? What's low key? He won $1 million twice.
Yeah, that's true.
How many times?
That's true. But Buckley definitely got his meme moment. I guess that goes to show you, like, being an internet meme means absolutely nothing.
Not if you get up and get to work.
No, but even if you're on the winning side of the meme,
you could get stuck on the couch looking at that meme, depressed forever. Or you could
but I mean, even on the winning side of the meme, like Joaquin Buckley did not sit down from there, but it still hasn't really fruited out into anything amazing.
Let's say he would have made a T-shirt that would have grossed $1 billion or something.
That would have been different.
But there's that's not.
But that kick is similar to this double spinning technique where your opponent normally, like someone in the caliber that we're fighting at, is expected to either pull your leg to bring you towards them, right, for a takedown, or to shove your leg and push you away.
I do think it was very fast though. That Buckley immediately jumped up and did it. But you're right.
You still need that time of like, why'd you hold his leg there so long?
You shouldn't hold him in place. You
right, like this is a practice tech. Like 100%. Literally, we hold people's legs to help them learn how to do this move. 100%. So
he paid for his sins.
Yeah, he paid for his sins bad. So, but you're right. I will walk that back and say performance of the night well deserved because the actual moment that we're looking at was chef's kiss, fantastic. And for anybody who got to see it live, like, wow.
It was $50K. Listen, Shara has looked like a very beatable guy. I'm not going to argue that.
Shara is another Duplessis, bro. Every fight, it's like, what's happening here?
That was the utmost praise you can give him right there because Duplessis is doing it to the championship level.
But Charlotte
But
says he's going the same path, bro. Like every fight he's
not
in,
not calling for Izzy. I don't think Izzy's the good fight for him.
bro. What if he does the same thing to Izzy?
If he does, then he's legit.
But if he does, it's no different than Dreykus.
We keep moving the post like legit. But I don't know, bro.
I'm not moving the post. I'm saying his fight technique.
Because to me,
his fight technique needs to be studied. Because once we study him and Dreykus, we can now create a new form of martial arts that is for them, bro. Because whatever they're doing is not in anybody else's book, and it's working, bro. Like Char was not winning this fight, bro.
I do think in the championship level, DDP has buckled down on his wildness.
Oh yeah, he's definitely. But what's winning him fights is wild shit.
Not so much in the last one. I don't think it was wild. I think it was stay the course, not breaking.
The moment that led up to the slip where Izzy fell over was a wild moment. You can't really remember anybody's activities. But once they got to the ground, Dreykus' brain kicked in and he remembered he was a good fighter and he was like, whoop, 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 zipped up, we're done here. Like,
listen, Izzy wasn't moving well. For whatever reason, he wasn't moving well, and he's seen it. And
I think Dreykus might have damaged him a little more than expected, to be honest.
Maybe.
Laurent Murphy versus Dan Ige. I didn't really have any thoughts on that. I really want to talk about Alexander Rakic more than anything.
I do want to say Murphy just showed his toughness. He was.
He survived the Dan
Ige. Hurt early, found a way to win. After being hurt, wasn't exactly an exciting fight. Yeah. But it was a test for him, and he somehow passed it with a C+.
Yeah, I suppose. Mm-hmm. I suppose he did. He passed. That's for sure.
Passed with a C+.
He definitely passed.
He didn't get no B or B plus.
Nothing great.
Nowhere near an A. But
A for Alexander Rakic because
F.
I'm confused.
F.
I was going the Sesame Street route, A is for Apple.
And I'm saying F is for his performance.
F is for failure. My issue with Rakic is not that he lost. My issue with Rakic is that watching him fight, it feels like he doesn't know how tall he is. The whole time he was fighting at short fighter range. Like he wasn't able to extend forget about even like technique wise, like just on pure anatomy. He wasn't fighting in a range where he can extend his arm to throw a full punch. So the whole fight, it felt like, Rakic, where are you measuring here? Like, what is the distance you're going for? Because you're not putting yourself in kicking range. You're not putting yourself in punching range. You're not putting yourself in takedown range. Like, I don't understand what you're doing.
Sometimes we see these fighters get in there and they just
melt.
They legit melt, and you can see it in their face. They're just not getting what they expected, and they have no idea what to do.
So confused. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was so prepared for the takedowns that he was trying to keep himself in a defensive range.
Yeah.
And it was putting him out of offensive.
He was getting pressured and expecting the shot, and instead he just was frozen and getting punched.
Yeah. But even when he was moving forward, it didn't make a lot of sense. Like moving forward, when Ankalaev's backing up, he's still choosing to put himself in a position that doesn't make a lot of sense for his height.
Yeah, this was not a great on the eye.
It was a really fumbled fight on both sides because on the Ankalaev side, like I couldn't understand Ankalaev. We just want to see if you can finish a fight effectively, bro. Now including this, your last 4 fights have not been effective, bro.
This wasn't an impressive victory for him.
Well, take that back. The Walker win was effective, but not impressive because it was like, you beat Johnny Walker, and we all think Johnny Walker is kind of on the way out at this point. As much as I'm a big fan of Johnny Walker, I want to watch him fight forever. He's super fun.
Lightning in the bottle don't happen multiple times. He had it and lost it.
And it sparked. But going off of that win to this fight was just like, I really don't want to see Ankalaev fight Pereira. And it's crazy that I'm going to say this. I don't want to see Ankalaev fight Pereira unless he plans to wrestle. Because then at least we'll get something interesting. We'll get to see Alex defend himself.
At least we'll see a test.
Yeah, but if Ankalaev goes in there to strike, like, bro, you're not knocking out Pereira. You couldn't knock out Rakic.
I mean, he went into the Jan fight to strike. Jan beat up his legs and he became All-American, which
that's what's gonna happen with Pereira.
Because I say All-American because he wasn't really being a submission threat.
Right. He was just doing the grapples.
He wasn't even wrestling like a Russian.
So I like, and it sucks to say that because I don't. You know how I feel about the ranking system. Like, I love being able to just use the ranking system to figure out like who's next in line, who deserves their turn, so on. And with this win, like, it now puts Ankalaev, I think, on what, 10 wins straight or something crazy like that.
I don't think it's a win streak when you have a no contest between it though.
Okay, so if you don't count the no contest, if you count the no contest, then he's no longer on the win streak. But
and the draw also.
Yeah, so he had a draw and a no contest back to back. But besides those, he's 2, 3, 4. I think he's like literally 10, 5, 6, 7.
Paul Craig, where he was destroying Paul Craig until
8, 9.
Got submitted. But you know who?
10, 11. Yeah. So 11 fight win streak, bro. So yes, I feel like you deserve the title shot based on your win history.
Yeah.
However,
not really.
I don't care to watch the fight because I already imagine you're going to lose. I don't see a lot of paths to victory. And the most exciting way you could potentially make this fight interesting is the most boring way the fight could go.
How many former champions has he beat?
0.
How many former?
But who? All right. So
how many former title contenders have he beat?
2.
Name them.
Smith and
1.
I
think that's it.
Well, he didn't beat Prime Walker. He got the draw against
Walker never fought for the title. But the point is, like, they're not very impressive wins.
And we just did this.
And I was gonna say
it was somebody else.
Our boy Jamal.
Santos.
Our boy Jamal Hill during the fight.
Didn't Santos?
During the fight or after the fight? Yeah, he fought for the title.
Santos. That's the second one.
Jamal Hill tweeted during the fight, "Good luck selling that fight."
Right. Like what? And for the first time, I agree with a Jamal Hill tweet in like 3 years, bro. It's been forever since I agree with a Jamal Hill tweet. Like, we don't want to watch Magomed Ankalaev versus Pereira, bro. This is uninteresting.
Yeah, it's good tweets. He just every now and
then good, but not that I agree with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree with a lot of things he says until he gets a little crazy.
My teeth hurt already just thinking about this fight, bro. I have the most sensitive teeth on the planet. I can't eat anything cold. Like, literally, like I let cold food room temperature up. Like, I let it, like, it has to, because it's just too cold for my teeth. So I can't imagine how much this shit would hurt, bro. Like, ice cream, I don't eat a lot of ice cream, bro. It's too cold. It's like, I'm good. I don't need that shit. I've never bit into an ice cream anything. Like, people who bite into that shit with their teeth are demons to me, bro. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but you are built different. Like,
it's not the best.
I can't do it. So I can't imagine the pain that Robert Whittaker was in. Yeah. Now, the good news is, so I did look into a little bit. My little sister has her medical degree, her medical degree in dentist work or whatever that shit is. I botched up the title. I just gave up. But so I reached out and she said it looks like from the picture that he doesn't have any actual jaw damage. Mm-hmm. It's just what the way your mouth works is your teeth are really hard, your jaw is really hard, but the thing that keeps them together is super soft. So Chimaev squeezed on Robert Whittaker's mouth in a way that just shoved his teeth back across his gums, as opposed to causing severe damage. So, in theory, he should be okay with a quick surgery that's no different than if you were to go in and get a perfect what's it called when they get the fucking inserts?
Dentures?
But, yeah, like dentures or the new joints what people be getting nowadays that they be looking like horses if they do the cheap version.
I can't remember the name right now.
Yeah, that shit. You know what I'm talking about, the teeth thing. Yeah.
I know exactly.
So essentially, like, he'd be getting one of those surgeries and it'd be no different. So it doesn't actually have a major impact on his fight ability or anything like that. Obviously, she said, I'm not actually the doctor, so I'm just looking at a picture, but
it makes sense. He was already chilling, talking, and all of that. Like,
oh yeah, so I didn't get to see any clips of him chatting yet.
Yeah,
so
He's done a little bit of interviews.
That's good. That's good. So yeah, we're gonna get Robert Whittaker with a perfect fucking jawline, bro. You're gonna have a perfect smile. You're gonna be out here, Smile Direct Club.
He definitely said that his jaw was fine. It was just the teeth.
Okay. Damn, bro. Can you imagine that feeling? Like, I don't Lord, wow. I've had crazy thing, right? I don't know why this happens, but I've had these wild nightmares where my teeth just start falling out.
Well, yeah, that's not wild. We all get that.
All right, so other people get those too?
They say that somebody's gonna die.
That's terrifying. I don't like that dream anymore. Like, I was just really scared about my dental hygiene. I preferred it when I was worried about that.
Listen, when I was younger, I was like, am I eating too much candy? Yo, bro, kid that never had cavities.
Bro, I wake up from these dreams so panicked that like my teeth still feel like they're falling out the rest of the day, bro.
And to be honest, I never kept up enough to like, that I had that dream and then somebody died.
Did somebody die to check in? Like, yeah.
I'm not superstitious and I don't even want to have that one on.
I don't want that one at all.
Why, if somebody's dying, why am I the one having the dream? Yeah, I ain't got no control over this. I ain't killing nobody.
What I got to do with this shit? Why my teeth got to be bothered?
Make sure I was with somebody, had an alibi, all that stuff.
So I brought up the dream because I'm like the only thing I could really think of. Like even having been punched in the face, like I've never gotten my teeth ruined. Like I've never. I have friends who have fought that have their chipped teeth. I've never gotten a chipped tooth or anything like that. Like I've
got tackled playing football, like no equipment, all of that, and I definitely felt like a piece of my tooth got chipped.
Nah, I have one broken. I have one broken tooth. It's literally almost completely in half. But that's because I was chewing on something I wasn't supposed to be. Like that's on me.
To me, what was on me in a way too. I didn't like I guess I had my teeth like
too gritted
together. Like so they click.
So the only reference point,
it wasn't nothing too bad like that.
The only reference point I have for what Rob felt was that dream. Like the I don't know. For me, sometimes my dreams become super real and vivid, and I really feel it. So like the feeling of your teeth falling out, like
I feel pain in my gums right now.
It was crazy.
Talking like this,
crazy. Which you already brought up the idea of Ilya not having the best knockout. However, I'm gonna put us in a weird frame of thought for a second, right? Between two historic faces, who had the worst loss? Max or Rob? Rob? I think Max.
No.
I think Max. Because Rob's loss doesn't tarnish or impact his legacy or affect the division in the way that Max's does.
I don't think Max losing touches his legacy in any way.
Well, I mean, it automatically does. People are already questioning, like, what's next for his chin. We finally see it get broken. Is this the beginning of a downward? Like, that's the conversations around him, which I don't think...
That's the conversations that have to be had because there's nothing else to talk about at moments. But I think Max found a new home.
There's Robert Whittaker's teeth to talk about.
Here's the thing. Neither of them have to retire from this.
No, absolutely not.
Both of them can retire.
Debatable. Rob is more questionable. Rob is more questionable because now, just hear me out on this, right? Now, he's faced a contender that became champion. He's already been champion and lost multiple chances to get it back. And he's now lost against another contender to run as potential champion.
His only path is Sean Strickland running the table on everybody.
Right. That's the only his only path.
That's the only guy he hasn't faced.
It's the only one he hasn't faced. And realistically, his options for facing Sean Strickland are either Dana White doesn't stick to his word, and which I believe he will, like I talked about before.
Well, he's not getting Sean Strickland off of the loss.
No. He could. Because, like I said, if Dana doesn't stick to his word, right, then they can say, Sean, you have to fight Rob for a contender spot because Hamzat's going to fight Duplessis. Izzy gets the winner.
I think Rob fights down next fight. I don't think he fights up.
he wouldn't be fighting up at that point. If
Yeah,
they're moving Sean
He'll be
out of
fighting
the
number one contender.
yeah, but if they're moving Sean out of the contender spot, he's no longer number one contender.
He'd be number 2. And
Exactly. Rob's still 5.
that's moving. By fighting up. I think the next.
Once you're in the top 5, it's kind of just a cycle.
I think his next fight is like maybe Bo Nickel. If Bo Nickel has an impressive win.
Nah.
Is he not ready for? He not ready for Whitaker?
Well,
for these losses,
I don't really know a lot about Bo Nickel.
I'm just
my
saying,
fault, bro.
Like,
I didn't mean to excite you like that.
I'm just saying, like that's not a realistic one. He's not ready for there.
No,
like,
I'm just.
Bo Nickel's,
I'm saying
his
I don't
progress is like mind-boggling to me. Like,
so I was never on the Bo Nickel hype train. So I didn't fall off of it, and I'm not feeling your pain.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
You know I'm being crazy.
Yeah. So on my side, I'm like, yo, bro. I never really was on his hype train, so I feel like the path he's taking is appropriate.
I feel like that's a more appropriate fight for Rob personally. Like,
I think in my opinion, if they ask Rob to fight an up and comer, he shouldn't say no. He shouldn't say no. But it's not out of line for Rob to say, I want to fight Sean if Hamzat's going to fight for the title next. I don't think it's out of line because,
it's not
like
out
you
of
said,
line. I just think Sean is going to be like, how do I get a title eliminator with a guy that's 1-4 or 1-3?
No, he's 2-2.
Wait, 2-2.
Yeah, he lost, then won, then lost and won.
I'm
and every time he's won, it's like again, the last 4 fights that Rob has had has really just been a lineup of potential contenders, and it's been 2-2. Like he put down Imavov, he got beat by Dricus, he got beat by Hamaev. Who was the one that he fought right before Dricus?
That's what I'm saying. I don't even think
oh my god.
Win.
Nah, I don't know why I was looking for my phone. That was crazy.
Yeah,
hold on a second. That was crazy.
I don't think it was.
Oh yeah, Aliskerov. There you go, Aliskerov.
What do you mean Aliskerov?
No, sorry.
Paulo Costa.
No, there was a contender before. Oh, Vittori. That's what it was. He came off the Whitaker. He came off the Adesanya loss. He beat Vittori. Then he lost to Duplessis. Then he fought Costa, won. Then he fought Aliskerov and won. 2 contenders back to back. And then he fought with, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with Vittori. Vittori was theoretically going for his title shot if he beat Rob. Mm-hmm. He lost, right? Duplessis was going for a title shot if he beat Rob. He won, got his title shot, current champion. Costa was promised a title shot if he won. He lost. Aliskerov promised a title shot if he won.
Was he?
Yeah. It was just going to be after Strickland. It wasn't promised to be against Duplessis next. But that was a title conversation, right? Hamaev title. So again, like there's no reason he can't ask for Sean, but he shouldn't say no to a contender.
If he would have beat Rob, they would have asked him to fight Chimaev. Rematch.
No, I think they would have skipped. They would have skipped the Rob Chimaev fight and put Chimaev already in the title conversation, but after Strickland. We wouldn't be, Chimaev would still be lined up for the title, but we wouldn't be talking about whether Strickland should go first or not would be the difference. That's all I think it is. Because coming off of the Usman and Burns fights, like it's whether you say he was in a different weight class or not, it still counts. Like these are these are top 5 opponents.
Yeah, but it's just hard to say that that's enough for him to be in the title picture.
If he was going up a weight class, I would say that's not enough. But going down a weight class, I say it's definitely enough.
No, I'm not talking about because he didn't go. He hasn't fought at 170 since Kevin Holland, which was supposed to be scheduled for Nate Diaz.
No, he.
He was supposed to. They sanctioned a murder.
Yeah.
And somehow Nate got out of it by getting into
the scuffle
with somebody else. I don't remember what happened.
No, Holland and Hamaev got into the scuffle with each other.
Yeah,
and then they switched the opponents.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Something else happened too with Nate too.
And
who did Nate fight then?
Ferguson. That's what it was. Yeah, that's all it was. It was Hamaev was supposed to fight Nate. Ferguson was supposed to fight Holland. And then
how did the Ferguson fight end?
Didn't Nate choke him out?
I think so.
Yeah, and he choked him out.
He choked him out. This is crazy. It's just coming back to me right now. What a
Bro,
crazy,
it's really the end of an
crazy,
era, bro.
what a
Max
crazy
Holloway got
WWE
knocked out. It's the end of an era, bro.
That
So
was a
many people we grew up
crazy
watching are
WWE
finished, bro.
WWE type event.
It really
that,
was,
that
bro.
was
That night
because
was nuts.
That's
That was
crazy to
nuts.
have.
They really had backstage situations turn into a real card, bro. It was really some WWE Endeavor shit, bro. Like Vince McMahon was behind that night.
I guess I'm just trying to stall away from talking about Max Holloway, man.
I don't think there's really anything to talk about, bro. Like Ilya won, big deal.
That's a big deal. Ilya is looking like he's gonna be a big force at this division, and
yes, I think he has the potential to be one of the greatest to ever do it in this division, and the potential to actually be the greatest of this division. Not yet.
Unfortunately for him, he will be fighting the guys that we think are the featherweight goats at the tail end of their career. Max being the younger one out of all of them, I believe. I believe Volk is older than Max.
Yeah, Volk is 36.
If Aldo gets back to the title picture, he'll probably be in his 40s.
I don't think he'll get
or
back
close to 40.
Also, didn't he go up a weight class?
Aldo?
Yeah.
I do not.
Coming back? Or I believe he's not in the featherweights anymore, I don't think.
You might be right.
I think he went up.
You might be right, but the point is that those guys that he can fight and beat and say, look, I'm better than them, it wouldn't be great math because they're the tail end of their career. Right. I do believe he got Volk at a tough time for Volk.
Well, we'll find out because they're scheduling the rematch. But
doing it again after Volk has had this layoff, will be very impressive.
Right, that'll be interesting.
But I want to get into two things that you probably wouldn't thought of. What do you think his chances would be against Islam?
I think he loses, and truthfully, it's because what I was going to allude to, right? I see a lot of conversation around Ilya being the best featherweight because he's beaten the legends, right? And there's two parts of that I don't agree with, right? One is the harder part to explain; it takes a lot longer, but ultimately, it's the idea of Max Holloway had 12 to 16 weeks to prepare for this fight. Ilya Topuria had 10 to 12 years to prepare for this fight, right? Like Ilya Topuria himself says he's been watching Max fight his whole career. Motivated by him. So there's things about Max that you've been studying from such a long catalog of fights and history. This isn't like preparing and cramming for an exam over a short amount of time. You've been preparing for this exam for a really long time, and now it's here, right? Which I don't want to take away from the credit of Ilya being great, because that's part of what makes him great is all that study he did, right? Mm-hmm. The next part of Ilya that's important to know is he's the strongest featherweight we've seen. Like I was telling you earlier, there's nobody in the division who has been hurt by anybody else the way that Ilya has hurt them, including now Max and Volk, right? Like Ilya has cleaned up the division. Max and Volk have tons of wins, but they have a lot of decisions.
Yeah, if we just go by what he just did, he cleaned up the entire division because he just impressively put out the two guys who have
been holding the division down.
There's nobody
there.
Now,
granted,
there's nobody there that can't say mathematically, I beat the guy that beat you.
Right. Granted, that's MMA math. We never really want to rely on that.
No, we don't rely on it. But
in this case, there's a difference.
He has the bragging rights of saying, I didn't just beat these guys. I left them on the canvas.
Right. Now, to the point of leaving them on the canvas, right? When you now combining the two ideas, right? Like you had so much of years of experience watching Max fight, plus I believe you are the strongest featherweight, right?
So no matter how much they prepare, they were not ready for that.
They're never going to be ready for that power.
No, they're
never going to be ready for that power.
They never felt it before.
Right. And that's my big thing with it, where now, and it's a little unfair of an ask, but it's the only thing that makes sense in my mind, right? Now it's, can you beat two prospects that you haven't fought, right? Two people that you didn't align with coming up the ladder. Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez, right? Because now the conversation becomes, hey, what can you do to fighters when you're on equal playing field? You didn't have 12 years of fight history to look at for this fighter. You got 12 weeks. You got 12 weeks. Go get it done. Right? We've seen you do a really good job against a lot of great guys, Josh Emmett.
And to be honest, now they have the more of an advantage of being
right, because now you're the champion. Now we've seen, right, and that's the advantage the hunter always has over the hunted. The hunted doesn't know they're being hunted. You understand? It's just how it. So that's the the dynamic that I think is there. But I do feel like big props to Ilya. I was on the Max side heavy, obviously, because I'm a fan of Max.
I've been a fan of both of them.
But it was there.
Ilya was giving me King of Cringe. Almost. I don't want to say he was all the way Henry Cejudo, but he was giving me a lot of cringe moments. And after the fight, showing his respect and all of that, I was just puzzled. Like, why did you think this wouldn't sell? You telling the fans that this guy right here has motivated me for years. I have to respect them. I mean, the utmost respect is to go in there and give it my all and knock him out because he's dangerous. He can do it to me. How do you think that wouldn't sell other than you pretending to not be impressed with?
Right. Now you could be the most loved featherweight champion instead of the most hated.
I'd like him to just be more authentic. Yeah. But the other thing that I wanted to say is going back to Chimaev. Is he our future middleweight champion?
Chimaev? I want to say maybe. Right? So Islam beats Topuria because Topuria's strength in featherweight is how strong he is. That may not translate once he goes up in weight against somebody.
He's fought like
against somebody who also is showing way too much strength for their division. Mm-hmm. Right? Every time we see Islam fight, we're like, yo, he's so big and strong, he should probably fight a division up.
But
right?
The reason why I think those two conversations even are good for each other is the fact that what if Islam takes that fight the way Chimaev took the Burns fight? Yeah, he has good wrestling, this and that. He's also a smaller guy. I can stand and bang with him.
But Islam has shown how good of a striker he is too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
What if he buys into that hype too much and gets caught by it?
But that's
I think he gets caught by it.
But that's where the power.
I think it can become
that's where
interesting conversation.
That's where the power question comes in.
I'm with Dana on this. He has some work to do with featherweight.
That's where the power question comes in. So again, right? We're talking about Islam, who already when they talk about his power, they say he's powerful enough to be in the upper division without question. Mm-hmm. Right? Ilya. We don't say he's powerful enough to be in the upper division.
I mean, I've seen him compete at lightweight, and the power translate.
But it didn't translate well.
He wasn't fighting Islam.
You know what I mean? So it's questionable.
I'm pretty sure that the John Herbert fight was a 155.
No, it was 145.
You sure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 145.
I thought they were fighting. He was fighting. He's fought at 155 a few times.
He fought at 155 outside the UFC.
No, in the UFC. He took some.
Yeah? Mm-hmm.
Oh. It might be one or two, but he's fought.
Yeah, so that's where my question would be. Is his power going to translate? Because right now it seems like his power is way too much for the featherweight division. Just the strength. Because each of the...
To me, if it was a first-time thing, then I'll question it. Him have done... Being that he has done it already, I think he would prepare... He'll be prepared for it to make sure that.
Well, the only reason I question it is because in each of the fights that we've seen, right, and again, maybe I'm just specifically thinking about Islam, but in each of the fights we've seen Ilya in so far, for me personally, right, of his 9 wins straight, there's 6, 7 where he was losing the fight until he wasn't. Right, not in a way where it's like, oh my God, what a drastic loss he's taking.
He's got caught, and we've seen him come back.
No, not even counting those. I'm talking about like even if you take away the ones where it's very clear something big happened, like just the very simple back and forths, right? Like a lot of those back and forth fights, he's not winning until he lands that power shot, and then he goes from there and dominates. Even when we look at the Max fight, right? Like, giving judges the respect of saying, if you're judging a championship fight, you have to beat the champion to beat the champion. So Max's performance can be questioned, right? But realistically, when we're looking at someone who's outstruck the champion by double and the percentages are not bigger than 3 to 4% gap in accuracy, we're talking about someone who's losing the fight, especially when there's not a lot of takedowns involved, right?
I thought Ilya was winning, but it was definitely close.
Right, it's super close, right? So in these,
I did see Max having his moments and made me feel like he could have turned the tide
but every
any
time,
second. It would have twisted
Max started getting his moments, Ilya just needed to land one.
it. Mm-hmm.
He had that type of power,
Pause it.
right? Similar to the Alex Pereira situation, right? There's a lot of Pereira fights that we look at and we're like, well, he was maybe losing that, right? Like even the Khalil fight, I believe one of the judges had the 2 rounds for Khalil. You know what I'm saying? So we can, but when that power comes in, that neutralizer plays a major factor because it doesn't matter if you're winning or losing if they can't take your power, and that's where it goes.
Well,
So I think that's the biggest element is
well,
Ilya's
I do not
power is
believe-
a very big question mark right
I do
now.
not believe Ilya
I want to see him hit the machine.
Islam. I do not think he beats Islam, but I do believe it'll be a more interesting fight than some people think it could be, man. But bigger than that, I have come to the realization that Hamza Chimaev is the next middleweight champion.
Yo, all jokes aside,
If not the next, because of what order it goes. Because I do think he took Sean Strickland's title shot right at this point. But if it does go Sean Strickland first, I think he beats either one of those guys. And Gilbert Burns was the last guy we've seen that Hamza's going to go in there and just stand and bang with. He's going to just take these guys down and
yeah. I
smother them.
In the hypothetical Dreykus.
Pereira has to be looking out for that.
Well, that's what I was the joke I was gonna make. But first was I think Hamza's gonna be, unless Pereira manages to get his heavyweight title shot first, Chimaev will be our first 3-division champ.
3?
Yep.
He's going to heavyweight?
Nah, he doesn't have to.
I don't see him going back to welterweight.
Why not?
Especially if he goes up to 205. It just doesn't make sense. Now let's say
first he wins middleweight, right? Drop down to get the welterweight strap real quick. Then from there, defend the middleweight strap. Go up to get the light heavy.
I don't want to see somebody with a weak immune system go down.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a questionable thing for sure. But I feel like there's a lot of possibility for him to do it. And also, when you think about the possibility of heavyweight, that's realistic too, because as he gets older, getting into, especially with the grappling strength he possesses, as he gets older, it becomes old man grappling strength. He's only going to get stronger. Wrestlers don't get weaker.
I can see him do that later. Bro.
That's what I mean, later. But he could be our first triple champ.
I think right in front of us, he can easily become the middleweight champion. And it's just a matter of Dana giving him the chance to go up to 205.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd crush Alex Pereira. I'm sorry, Pereira, but there's no chance you will be able to stop his takedown and stop him from smothering you.
Nope.
There's just no chance. He's that kind of grappler.
Mm-hmm. And he won't do the striking dance like a lot of other fighters.
No, like I think that's what gave everybody the false confidence. He's not doing that again.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about this upcoming weekend, which is taking place in Edmonton, which is a place in Canada, I learned recently. I was looking at it because they have a free expo event going on this week. So any fans in Canada that want to stop by, they have a free event going on for you to do a meet and greet with whatever fighters show up. I don't know the entire roster off the top of my head. So I was looking into it, and one thing that I've realized is it seems like, well, I know this part to be true, right? The cards you get towards the end of the year tend to be fluff cards outside of the big events because there's certain stipulations and contracts that have to be fulfilled and so on and so on.
Certain guys got to fight too.
Right, certain people have to fight. But this feels like one of those, like, these people just have to fight dump cards.
Yeah.
And I don't love it. But there are a couple of fights that I'm excited for.
Like any event, man, there's gonna be the good fights. There's gonna be the more boring fights.
Yeah, but this one is really, really stacked with not exciting sounding fights. Like you said, you're a little bit excited for Cody versus Chad. Cody Gibson versus Chad and Hyler.
I said I'm biased. I got Cody.
Like I don't. Yeah, sure. Cody probably is gonna win, but I'm not really I'm not pressed to turn the TV on for this one. Garrett Armfield versus Sergey Sidey. So there's just a bunch of them that you can. I personally feel like I could skip over. The one I'm excited for in the prelims is Yusuf Zalal versus Jack Shore, and this is more because stealing one of Mike's favorite phrases, his loss ages very well, right? His primary, I think he has 2 losses in the UFC. One of the losses, his main focus loss is Ilia Topuria, right? And that was a decision loss.
Yeah.
You understand, like a decision loss versus Ilia Topuria, the current champion who's knocking everybody out. So that's what I'm saying. This is now where I want to see Ilia going. Like, can you fight one or two of these guys, right? Can you rematch Zalal and knock him out the way you knocked out Max? Because then I'll say you might be the best boxer in the UFC. You know what I mean? But you know those are conversations.
He is already one of the best.
No, for sure, one of the best for sure. But for me, beating Max, I think Max is the best boxer in the UFC. Right, like strictly just hand striking. I think he is. It's proven just the amount of untouched. Like he's just been continuously more effective with his hands than most other fighters. Right.
It's a little different because one is got his guard down, one has got his guard up.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. So Ilia beating Max for me puts him really close to being the best boxer. Like you are almost the best. You beat the best, right? But my caveat to that is simply because he's the best. You've had tons of time to research his holes. Now go fight someone else with no information and do the same thing to them, and now you're the best. Especially if it's a Yusuf Zalal because you fought him to decision. Rematch him and knock him the hell out. Take his top off, and you are the best boxer in the UFC, undeniable.
Round 1 is technically round 4 for you guys. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So undeniable, right? So that's exciting for me.
Your boy Charles Jourdain.
Man, Charles Jourdain is a super fraud, bro. Like, Charles Jourdain is like my Bo Nickel, bro. Like I was so excited for all the hype he brought to the table.
He is what I thought he was.
Like I thought he was going to be this great, amazing fighter representing Canada, and he's not. But he's fighting Victor Henry. And Victor Henry's really interesting because I don't know what his specialty is, but I also don't really know what his flaws are. He just has a wild fighting style that kind of dangles in between the space a lot.
Which is not going to lead to a good fight, honestly.
Yeah, I don't. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just not. Again, maybe this one is a little bit biased. I'm really just disappointed with Charles Jourdain.
If I had to guess the snooze fest of the night, it'd probably be that one.
Probably. This one I'm excited for, and for all the wrong reasons.
Yep.
Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Ariana De Silva, formerly Ariana Lipski, for those who haven't caught up. But this fight is going to be fantastic. I think Ariana's going to lose, unfortunately. She's going to get out-wrestled.
Here's the thing. Ariana should lose. But it'll be fun to see if she can get the upset.
Yeah, if she can get the upset, it'll be amazing. But I think she's going to lose because of the wrestling. We've already seen she has some deficiencies there. Jasmine's really good there. But these two are really fun to watch. Like, genuinely
Jasmine's
amazing.
Always fun, but that's more her style because her style is wrestling based. So
yeah, so it's a little.
It
can be kind of boring, but should be an interesting fight.
Ariel Helwani versus.
There you go, making the joke.
Pedro Munoz.
Nothing there. Brenton Rivero versus Kyle Machado. I don't know why I enjoy watching Brenton Rivero fight. Maybe it's because he's so aggressive of an offensive striker that he's a your best defense is offense type of fighter. So he keeps things exciting because somebody's gonna go out. Like most of his
Kyle's not always very exciting. He's more highlighting his footwork, getting up out of there.
Okay, so I feel like if Brenton brings the right pressure, he could win. I don't know. I'm just excited. Brenson's always a fun fighter to watch, which is good news because now we're getting to the exciting part of the card.
To me, if you do the math, which obviously rarely works, is the aggressor versus the guy with the footwork. The guy with the footwork, if he can counterpunch just a little.
Not always. The rule is brawl the boxer, box the brawler. Right? So like it's an advantage on either side depending on how good the fighter is.
But that's what I mean. If he boxes the brawler, those openings will be there to counterpunch.
Yeah, if he's a good enough boxer. We're gonna see. But it should be an exciting flashbang, followed by another exciting flashbang in Derek Lewis versus Gennady Denise. The knockout king against a rising star from Brazil with some decent amount of knockouts himself. This is just going to be a flashbang fight as well. Somebody's going down for sure. Unless for some crazy reason Janata Denise doesn't engage. And this is going to be one of the most biased sentences I've ever said that everybody's going to agree with and understand, right? This fight will be boring if Janata Denise is scared to engage. Because we all know Derek is a low volume striker.
He's not
right?
looking to.
Right. So
He's not looking to
the
bias. He's
bias,
not looking to drown you with volume. He's looking
right?
to get
The
one punch
bias
and drop
is
it.
that we excuse Derek Lewis for being a low volume striker because he's the knockout king.
Exactly.
You know what
Nobody
I'm saying?
has more knockouts than him.
That's
so
his
why does-
bias. He doesn't have to strike a lot because
Exactly.
as long
Why
as he
would he-
lands one or two, it doesn't matter.
At
Right.
36, 37 years old, he's not changing how he fights.
Yeah. So Janata has to engage, or this fight will be boring.
Can be boring.
And then a fight that surprisingly the odd makers are not on the right side of. I'm not the Rose fan here, but Rose Namajunas versus Aaron Blanchfield. Or I'm not the heavy Rose fan is the better way to say it, right? Like I'm a Rose fan, but you are the heavy duty Rose fan. I believe the odd makers have this completely wrong. Go cash out everybody while she's still an underdog. Because Rose is going to walk through Aaron. Her footwork is too good. Aaron's takedown ability is damn near terrible, right? Like Aaron is the United States Mackenzie Dern, which is wild to say because Mackenzie Dern's from Massachusetts as much as she pretends to be like a native-born Brazilian. I love Mackenzie Dern, but that has always bothered me because like, why, bro? Why do you do that? Like.
That's
Why do you do that?
That was a Twitter page.
It's like Mike
4 million followers.
Yeah, it's great. It's like Mike saying that he's from Dominican Republic, the island, and never acknowledging that he's from New York. Like what kind of craziness, bro? Like
Washington Heights is the Dominican Republic.
Right, you're from Little DR, which is hysterical because
Washington Heights is not in the Dominican Republic.
Where are we right now?
I was today years old.
I was today years old when I found out. Rose should win this fight pretty convincingly. I think this should be her title eliminator. Like this should be very clear she's next.
Stylistically, this fight is almost like it makes me question if we're like seeing it wrong or whatever. Like Rose should win this fight.
Yeah, she's the better striker by far. And Aaron is not good at takedowns. She's good at the grappling once you're on the ground. But like I said to you earlier, when you were a little nervous about Rose winning, I'm like, but
when I was saying,
I understand it losing on the ground, but how does it get there?
Nervous is more like it's just being a fan. Like John Jones could be in the ring fighting the scrub, and I'm nervous. Because
I feel that's what I was.
There's a chance.
That's what I was addressing when I was saying you're the big fan while I'm a regular fan, right? Like
there's a chance his toe pops out and he gets TKO'd by that.
Like when Rose is fighting, I don't get nervous when she's fighting. Mm-hmm. When Max was fighting, my heart was racing. Right? Like it's a different connection.
Oh no, when Max was fighting, that was like ridiculous.
This shit was crazy. So I'm looking forward to Rose winning. I'm looking forward to her getting a title shot. Because I think it'll be really cool for Rose to be the second or third double champion in the women's division?
Yeah, wait.
Second, right? Second, yeah, second, because Amanda is the only one right now. So Rose Namajunas being second, Thug Rose, let's go, baby.
To me, it'd be a little odd still because I do remember Rose being the champion at strawweight and training with Valentina and people talking about that. Do they think they'll ever fight? And she said, no, she's a small strawweight.
Oh my God, that's right. Valentina has the title now. She beat Grasso.
Mm-hmm. So it's just
this might not be a title eliminator just for the reason you said.
Like I don't
like Aaron gets a title shot if she wins. Rose declines the title shot if she wins because of what you just said. I think Rose is that loyal. Like for me, on a person level, I've always felt that energy from Rose. Rose is just a good person.
Up to flyweight. Maybe meant that something with that fell through.
Nah, I think it was.
I don't know that they train together anymore.
I think it was more so the assumption Valentina was on the way out, right? Because when she was going up against Grasso for the first time, a lot of people assumed like this was her retirement fight if she won. She's done so much in the sport, she really doesn't need to do anything else. right? And I think her losing to Grasso reinvigorated her in a way where now she's back and she's like, I'm gonna go on another run before I get out of here. Remember, I don't know if you caught this, but Valentina is the first UFC champion to get all of her rubies.
Yeah. I know.
Not male or female, like the first.
Only because
to get all her rubies.
You also remember it has to do with the timetable.
Yeah.
It has to do with the timetable when the rubies came along.
But it still counts. Like first fighter to get them.
I'm pretty sure.
And they designed it.
Guys,
no, they designed it in a way where
like Islam's probably a fight or two away.
Right, they designed it in a way where the older fighters are not. It was more than any of the older records, so like no one's actually should have been given the full ruby count. But either way, like she's the first person to do it. So is she now going to try to fill the second set of ruby slots? Because there's 2 slots, right? Like, does that if that's her run goal? Then maybe Rose does have to fight Valentina, right?
I just don't know their relationship now. I remember back then she just said, "No, I'm a small, strong weight. I don't. I'm fighting girls bigger than me already."
Yeah. Well, she was younger at that time. You age, you grow a little bit.
It hasn't been 5 years.
Yeah. It was 2 years ago that Carla and Rose fought.
Yeah, she was champion at that time. Her run to champion wasn't 2 years long.
No, it was short.
Exactly. So if it was 2 years ago, it wasn't 2 years.
No. When Rose said it,
just simple math, it couldn't be more than 4 years ago.
Rose was champion more than 4 years ago.
No, if you say the Carla fight was 2 years ago,
yeah,
she wasn't champion for longer than 2 years.
Yeah,
it couldn't have been longer than 4 years ago.
But I'm saying Rose said it when she first got the belt.
No, this was on her second run.
Oh, it was on her second run. Okay. Well, yeah,
she did it.
That's probably
her first run. She never trained with Valentina. This was like a new thing, and I don't know if they still train together.
I don't know. That's
because I believe she's with Whitman.
Yeah, she's definitely with Whitman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't believe Valentina's with Whitman.
And the new, and I say new only because I know originally that this card was headlined by Rose and Erin Blanchfield. So the new headliner is Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. I don't really know what to say about this fight, to be honest. Like, I'm excited about it. I don't know what to say about it.
I don't know that I'm excited about it. I'm more nervous how Brandon Moreno comes back and perform. I'm a big fan of Brandon Moreno. His run at flyweight while being short was very impactful with those interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Became a star real fast. I don't know what made him feel like he needed time off. He was very flat in his last performance.
Super flat.
So
super
whatever
flat.
he was dealing with,
it was definitely
I'm not sure what it is, but he definitely felt like he needed to take a step back. And I'm just hopefully he'll come back and be a better version of himself. I don't know much about Amir though to like even measure it.
That's what I mean. I can't really.
It's mixed emotions.
I'm not super excited about this fight for that exact reason. Like, I've never been a super big fan of the flyweight division. Albazi beat Kai Kara France. I do remember that.
I didn't see it, so I can't tell you how.
It wasn't anything crazy.
Split decision.
Costa, Figueiredo, not Davison, the other Figueiredo. Yeah, there's not really anybody that I'm like, woo, you did it.
The only person.
But this also goes back to the flyweight division being a problem where there's not a lot of like major activity threats in that space.
The thing is, it's a deep division, but it's often hard to find a standout.
Yeah. There's no one that you could really like. They're so saturated.
What's the biggest standout you've seen at flyweight recently?
Urseg
getting knocked out, you mean?
No, Urseg as a standout because of what he was able to do flying through the division.
Well, I'm telling you that Kai Kara France knocking him out was the most exciting the flyweight's been all year. Was that fight? Him knocking him out.
No, I don't think that's fair. I think that the flyweights have exciting fights because
they do have exciting fights.
So
that
energetic.
Was the exciting moment, is what I'm saying.
So the knockout moment was bigger, but the fight itself between Urseg and Pantoja was more exciting.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
You know what I'm saying?
I enjoyed that fight.
Yeah. So like
I won't take that away.
exciting
I won't
moment
take that
for
away
sure.
from Pantoja,
Like the knockout itself was the
but if
most
we're
exciting
talking
moment.
about what would play in more highlights.
Yeah, of course, the knockout, because knockouts are going to go into highlights. But the fight, but what was more fun to watch?
What's going to sell more is knowing the guy that got the knockout. Because you don't get a lot of knockouts at flyweight.
Right.
Especially a clean one.
But I wonder what I don't know. It's interesting because again they got a brand new fighter introduced for a title fight.
But
right?
this,
so
it's
just it speaks to the idea.
Kai Car France is probably not getting the next title shot after that now because of this fight.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how it goes.
So,
but will it end in a knockout? That to even
if this goes to decision, does Kai keep his position in the list?
I don't know what his position.
I don't even call it the standings anymore because the rankings is a different thing than the list as far as so the list is like where are you as far as what Dana has said about who's
when
next.
Pantoja has fought everybody.
Not Kai.
Yeah.
Pantoja fought Kai?
I believe so.
I don't think Pantoja fought Kai.
You have to check Kai's thing.
I'm finding out right now.
Pretty sure.
Oh my God, my next age.
I'm pretty sure.
Kai Kara France has not fought Alejandro Pantoja.
They were on the same season, too.
Mm-hmm. Who he fought a lot was Moreno.
3 times.
Mm-hmm. Moreno's fought almost everybody 3 times, bro.
Thanks for making.
No, Moreno 2 times.
Making me a liar.
2 times.
Unanimous decision.
Oh man, you always count in the Ultimate Fighter fights, bro. That shit don't count. It don't count. It's a 2-round fight. It doesn't count.
Well, guess what? One of his Pantoja's wins over Brandon Moreno is on Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, we don't count that.
I do.
Nah. They counted it conversation piece leading into the championship because it makes it 4 now.
I watched it. He dominated him there.
But it's a 2-round fight.
Dominated him in the second fight. As a Brandon Moreno fight, I didn't feel like he didn't have a chance, but I still knew in the back of my mind that Pantoja beat him for 2 rounds straight.
Yeah. If it's when it's, I don't know. I think
it
Moreno.
It matters how much weight you put on it is different.
Like,
I'm not putting it. It's not a loss in his record.
Yeah,
it's an exhibition.
It's an exhibition match,
But he lost to him. They were in the cage, and there was a lot on the line, more on the line than a regular UFC fight. One could argue.
You could argue it, but we all know like
so many of the
fighters that go on tough that make it to the TV screen still make it to the UFC.
Well, that season in particular, they had nothing but champions.
Yeah, so almost everybody from that season made it to the UFC. Now I think about it.
No, I wouldn't say almost everybody. I would say at least 5.
Mm-hmm.
Kai Car France, Pantoja, Brandon Moreno. Terrence Mitchell did not. He was probably the biggest name that did not make it.
Yeah.
Kai Car France murdered him. Damn, I can't remember. There might be a couple more. But a lot of people made it. You're not wrong about that. But it was a division that we were looking at as dying. So
right, they needed it. They needed it.
If they did a heavyweight tough season and they didn't sign 5 people, guess what? Whoever picked the people to be on it was probably getting fired. Call me a liar.
I don't know if they get fired, but they definitely get a stern talking to.
I don't know how you couldn't get 5 when a division that doesn't have anybody. You just
the problem is there's just not a lot of them out there that are worth watching. That's the question.
But
that are worth watching.
If you can't get people to impress enough in a whole season, what is it, 30 contestants? It has to be 5 to make it.
16.
16 contestants?
Yeah, they ain't 8.
No, because how about the fights to get in the house?
Well, those guys definitely don't.
I don't know. I don't know.
Those guys definitely don't.
The format's different.
Right. And a lot of times, the newer format, they're not fighting to get in the house anymore. So the newer format is a lot of people who Dana meets on the road at like looking for a fight and stuff like that. So like the people who don't make it into the highlights and the actual episode are usually the people that they get into tough.
there's a path to the UFC not being the interviewing Dana and telling him your record? You can do that?
Does he win this year? Does he win interview question of the year, like press question of the year? I think he does.
I
I think
mean,
he gets question of the year.
at least the most lucrative.
Because
At least the most lucrative.
yeah, he gets question of the year for sure, or at least Dana White answer of the year. Like he got the best answer out of anybody who asked the Dana question so far.
He did. He got the best response, period.
For sure. All right, I think that wraps it up for us this week. Thank you so much for tuning into the main event Fightcast. It's always a blast, always a pleasure. Remember to like, comment, and share.
Oh, and Dana and Sean Shelby, everybody. Can you give my boy Myron Santos a fight? He's on Twitter begging for a fight. Get my boy
Can we
a fight.
give Myron Santos a fight, please?
You want to see him? You want to see the legend become a legend?
You can follow Coach Mike at SF Big Mike. You can follow me at What Up Vega. And I guess we're looking for a fight for Myron Santos.
I'm thirsty. I want to see my boy back in the